So this is a little bit different. This isn't a round table like we typically do. This is going to be what we call a CONglobe. So we're going to be talking with a dear friend of mine, John, and he has, even though he has a type of mindset to question his reality. One thing that he, and we've talked a lot about this in the past, is about the heliocentric model. So I'm excited that he's here, and I'm pretty excited to share with y'all the kind of event that led to this to happen. But before we do that, let's go ahead and introduce everyone. We got a few new faces here, and we got a few regulars. But I'll go down the list like I always do. BV, welcome, brother.
I'm just here for the conversation. Carry on.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And this is kind of a fulcrum in this series of events. The next is Flat Earth Genius. I'm going to share his YouTube here a little later on, but definitely go show him some support and check out the content he's made. But it's Flat Earth Genius. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And we got a usual Frankie B. How you doing, brother?
I'm just sitting here watching the globe go round and round. Shalom, everyone. There's no globe.
Yes, and then I'm gonna save the best for last, since he's kind of the center point of this discussion. I'm super excited about it, so I'm gonna skip you for a second and go over to Marsha. How you doing, Marsha?
I'm doing good, and John, you got 5 against you. Ooh.
We're not against you. We're for you. That's
no, okay, we're
right,
for you. We're for you.
You got 5
for
for
you.
you.
Yeah, we're for you. So we're all coming here to kind of spill each of our own gravy in the best we can, and go from there. But yeah, without further ado, this is my friend John. I've known him for over a decade. He is a really good friend in my life, and we've kept in touch for most of all of those years. And we like having intellectual conversations and talk about the coincidence theories and all that fun stuff. And so yeah, as I was kind of saying before, he's not there, and I totally understand. We all were at that point. But yeah, without further ado, John, if you'd like to say hi to all the watchers.
Hi, everybody. I'm John.
Sweet. Yeah.
I'm John.
John's going to be asking us some questions, and like I said, we're going to field them the best we can, and hopefully.
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask everybody, since it came up into my mind yesterday. Hi, I'm John. John. Pretty much. That's pretty much that about me. But yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you one question, and then we're going to take it from there. So this could
Get interesting.
Yeah. And is everyone okay that is on video, cool with being on video for the stream?
Yeah, fine with me.
I wanted to ask,
Go ahead.
Wait.
Go ahead,
Do you
brother.
want to be on video, John? Do you want to actually show your face, John? We're asking you that.
Yeah, I seem to be echoing or something.
I don't hear it.
You got 2 programs going.
If you're also on YouTube, just mute YouTube.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, just mute YouTube.
Just mute the YouTube.
Okay, let me mute the YouTube. There we go. Okay. Hang on. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you. Can you not hear it? Oh.
Yeah, I was hearing myself talk for a while there, and I was like, it was coming back. like more than an echo.
Mhm.
But
It's
yeah,
fixed now.
okay. Yeah, I muted the YouTube. I guess that's what was going on.
Sweet,
So,
perfect. And are you cool with showing video or no? It doesn't matter. Like if you don't want to, no,
no,
none of
I'm
it.
fine. I'm
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Sweet. All right. So
So,
I'm gonna share everybody. Hello, everyone. Um, glad to see all here. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the questions. I'm excited to see what you got for us. So yeah, what's your first question?
my main question tonight is I'd like to ask everybody, and y'all can all just kind of pile in however this works, but I wanted to know when you got into flat Earth and how. Uh, so just like very briefly, if everybody could say what year they joined flat Earth, and a quick was it through a friend or YouTube?
Sweet, yeah, I'll go first. Mine was about 2016. I had it YouTube, kind of broadcasting that to me. I thought it was stupid, but I had this dream about these meteors, and the next day, and I can show this later. I filmed these flying fireballs going over Salt Lake Valley, and that kind of sparked my okay. Let me look at this flat Earth thing because I was very perplexed, and then yeah, I watched the 200 Proofs by Eric DeBay, and that was kind of the beginning of my quest to figure out where we live.
Right on. Walter,
Well, 2015 is when I came to Flat Earth. My best friend had moved to Florida and moved back up to North Carolina and just told me about, hey, you heard about this Flat Earth thing? And I just started laughing. I told him he was a retard. And, I said, we've already proved it's a globe many times. What are you talking about? But, being the researcher I am, because I was already into 9/11 and all the different conspiracies, and I looked into it, and, one thing led to another, and here I am 7 years later.
right on, right on. Next.
I'll go next.
Who's next? Thank you.
I think it
Yeah,
was
I'll go next. A friend of mine reached out to me and asked me if I knew anything about flat Earth, and he told me the Earth is flat. And he
And
told
what year was that? What year was
2015.
that?
2015.
2015. Okay.
And he told me it was biblical. He showed me all the biblical things about it. I was like, hey, if it is, what do I care? What does it matter? Is it really relevant? But then he sent me a video, and I watched the video, and I started watching more videos on it, and then I realized it really is relevant because of all the lies that are behind the globe, and the deception is so deep that it puts a veil over you, and it opens up you to receive all their lies about government, about what's going on in current events, our economy, our political system, and then when COVID hit, I mean, it was full on awakening to
Is that right?
all.
Oh, okay. Because it was.
Well, then I realized the deception is worldwide. It's not just coming from NASA. It's an elite group of elitists that are controlling. And when all these countries get together and declare, lockdowns and this and that, and you're thinking Armageddon's coming. You know what I mean? So and then I started researching all that, and then all the political things opened up to me. Then I realized, hey, everything we've ever been told is a lie. And you just start weeding through all the lies, and then you actually find the truth behind them. And I think flat Earth is the thing that unlocks. It's like the puzzle piece that everyone's missing. And when you put that puzzle piece in, you start to see the clear picture of everything that's really going on.
Yeah, I think Zach had said something about that last night when I was talking to him.
It goes even deep into Freemasonry and all this cabal government. I mean, I watched Blacklist and all these shows about it, FBI and the one with the tattoos, the CIA, and now after all this, I'm starting to see that all the stuff I was watching on TV is, behind the scenes reality of how they're doing psyop after psyop after psyop, and just, keeping people in the dark and keeping the transmission of fear going super strong. You know what I mean? So that's my old, and then I became a truther after that and started watching Austin Witsit Gets It, who's a advocate for flat Earth. He's well versed in it, and but then he started breaking down all kinds of other truth topics.
Right.
And the rabbit hole was deep. That's all I got to say.
So did I take it that pretty much everybody came into this around 2015 or later?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there anybody that was in it longer than that?
Marsha hasn't given her answer.
Well, it is around 2015, but it actually, Flat Earth wasn't something that just, boom, hit me. But I believed it immediately because everything started opening up. All these lies. I started researching and seeing 9/11 and this and that and realizing our government has been lying to us about things. I was starting to awaken. Well, probably even before that, but and when Flat Earth came into being around 2015-16, it was easy for me because I started looking at all the videos and going, oh my gosh, of course, because because of so many lies prior to that during my awakening. Now, convincing my family about it was not that easy, but they're all there now.
Has anybody
and you
here?
will be too, John.
Right on. Okay, so far everybody seems to be 2015, 2016, something like that. Is there anybody on here that isn't?
No, you're the only one.
We haven't heard BV's. BV, what about you,
brother?
Oh
yeah, BV.
I got hurt in 2008, so I started researching 9/11, stuff like that. And I found Flat Earth for roughly 2012, 2013. So by time I saw it get really hot, and what was going on that I noticed was odd was YouTube was flooding the algorithms for Flat Earth. Didn't know if that was on accident or on purpose.
That was in 2013?
That's when it solidly hit that it was absolutely flat. That was it. I had been researching for a little bit, but that's when it totally 100% convinced.
Right on. Okay, so he kind of was in this prior to everybody here, right? By a couple
but
years.
But most of us already did 9/11 and all that too, so we were all in that thick of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Does everybody pretty much agree that 9/11 was
yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like
I'm
not even sure if there were planes, brother.
I don't know.
Exactly.
No, I don't even think there were planes. And it came down on its footprint. Come on. It's just
all three.
Why do y'all feel like I mean, is there any possibility that the algorithm was put into place to pull people off of conspiracy theories, and redirect them somewhere else by, say, the CIA?
Oh, heck yeah.
The way I look at it is it doesn't matter. The Earth is flat no matter how it came out.
Yeah.
If it was a psyop, it was a poorly released one because it woke a lot of people up. And the thing is we've probably all of us individually went out and tested it ourselves, so we're convinced.
Correct.
We don't have to have somebody else convince us. We convinced ourselves.
Right. Through your own research.
Right.
Research.
But it all happened at the same time, so
Right.
Yeah.
that leads me to wonder, a little bit, the timeline.
Well, like I was thinking, it's either YouTube was helping flood it, or it was just the algorithms picked up on the flat Earth and it just started spinning, and they didn't know how to really take control. So then you throw in gatekeepers, but that's a different subject.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was before the lockdown on the algorithms. Like 2015 was right before they started censoring everything. After Trump got in, then they really started heavily censoring YouTube content creators, like Richie from Boston. He got locked out. Witzik got flagged a couple times.
Witzik got put in jail.
Yeah, he got put in jail.
Or he got
it.
detained, and
because
then
we're waking up.
Yeah.
No, I mean with the YouTube stuff though. I mean they really started locking down right around 2019.
Well, in 2016, flat Earth was Googled more than Trump or Hillary. Right. It was more popular.
Like I'm saying, that was I think it was before they really started censoring and watching what was going out. Mm-hmm. And now they have a handle on it, and they'll flag you for doctor's advice, anything. I mean, they're.
There was a freedom on YouTube.
There was. Like in 2011 and 2013, you could watch pretty much anything. Anything. I mean, I went down the old 9/11 rabbit hole in 20. So I started in like 2007, all the way up to like 2013. So, yeah, there was videos all over the place, and there was the wrestler. What's his name?
Jesse Ventura
was an advocate against it. There was Alex Jones was on YouTube at the time. Then he got banned. And then Jesse got taken down. So they started like after Trump got in with the fake news and everything was a lie, then they really started locking everything down. Now they feel they have a handle on it, but they don't. There's still really good content on YouTube.
What would be a good cross section of conspiracy theories that you were all into right before you became flat Earth?
That would be 9/11, most of us.
I mean, that was
9/11, JFK, roughly.
But I mean, was there anything just recently? Because 2015 was a pretty rough year. You had like mass shootings everywhere, all kinds of. And Trump was getting ready to come in because he announced his shit and told them he was going to basically roll over the deep state.
It would be 2012. Around there, like BV, where I started waking up to conspiracies.
Right.
And so Trump, that led there.
Yeah, Trump started talking about running for president like 2011 on Howard Stern.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's been talking about it for decades, actually, just kind of beating around it.
Yeah, but I mean, when he went on Stern and said he would like to, he could make changes when Obama was in office. He was really against Obama. That was when it really started to become mainstream.
Right, because he actually was going to run in 2012, and
against Obama.
And they laughed at him and said that that's a joke and stuff, and then he withdrew his candidacy. But then 2015, he definitely said he's running, and that was kind of, he threw his hat in the ring.
Can I ask you, John?
Yeah.
How much? Okay, on conspiracy theories out there, are you awake to some of those?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've been following everything to do with Russia for quite a long time. knew this was coming, and been watching the European Union closely, and
What about the pandemic?
I knew immediately that
Okay.
it was, as soon as COVID started coming, I knew that because of the time that it happened. Almost everything is, you can tell by the timeline, because that timeline is how they operate. It's like as soon as the COVID started becoming a thing, I knew instantly it was going to be a problem.
Well, it was going to affect flat Earth too.
And what worried me most about it was that the initial COVID thing coming out, it was coming out of China and stuff. I knew that was going to be the marker round, and they were going to use that to guide in the artillery after that, which became the jab.
Bingo.
So, is everybody here pretty much not jabbed?
Yeah, and not a single
Not
one.
jabbed.
Nobody.
Yeah, actually, COVID helped them to actually start censoring misinformation. They labeled everything misinformation, hazardous information. So that was probably released. One of the aspects was, to get Trump out, but to also monetize us and censor us, and
right, to gain control. So it was but this has been coming, and all of us that have followed, current events years prior to COVID, pretty much knew this was coming. We knew that was going to happen at some point, that they were going to go for total control, and they just needed a reason to do it. I don't know if y'all followed, how socialism has,
Oh yeah.
goes back 100 years or more.
Oh yeah.
And that they had the plan for all this.
So I guess what you're saying is you're open to conspiracy and know that there are conspiracies. So you could be nudged you could be nudged on the flat Earth as being another lie, right?
Well, yeah. So a good example of that, right, is we distrust the government, right? Everyone here knows that the government lies. So then why are we trusting NASA, who makes $63 million a day to do what they're doing?
Oh, yeah, you can't put anything past somebody that's going to make a lot of money, So,
yep.
Not only that, don't you? Well, I do. No one else here. I'm the oldest.
Well, not 9/11 brought in the surveillance cameras. They started putting cameras everywhere.
Well, come on.
And then the Patriot Act opened up an avenue for border control. Well, not border control, but flagging you,
data grabbing.
Yeah.
Well, for crying out loud, Nixon called on his landline to the moon. Hey, you guys, how you doing? Come on. That's a,
there's lag there. There's lag.
Hey, concerned, you had this concern about how it all came out in 2015 and everything.
Right.
Well, I know back in around 2014, 2015, there was a gentleman who worked for NASA who got out of NASA and was basically a whistleblower. His name was Matt Powerland. And he was kind of one of the very first ones that brought this to the current world, because he was an insider who blew the whistle. And that's kind of why it went viral back then. And back then, YouTube didn't know this was going to happen, and they had no control over it going crazy in 2015. The question you got to ask yourself is, why did they censor it? Why are you not allowed to know? Why are you not allowed to question the shape of the Earth?
Right. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you are allowed to question it, right? I mean,
No,
except that they
go to-
will.
All the videos have a
Go to-
disclaimer on them now.
And
Right,
go to
They all have a
YouTube
disclaimer.
and search
You're
flat
saying
Earth,
there was
and you'll just get debunked.
a definite. They conspired to put it down. Right.
Yeah, they had a congressional hearing where this was determined with YouTube.
Right. Okay.
I mean, so
Well-
and it was also about 9/11 and about healings and cures, medical cures,
And mass shootings.
Mass
And then they
shootings,
came
yeah.
out with the Flat Earth Society, which, kind of debunks it also.
Yeah, that's a government-run psyop.
Yeah.
Well, and
Nobody
it's a
does-
good way of gathering a lot of people together, thinkers.
Yeah.
So now they know where the thinkers are, who they are,
Just
who
so
they
you know,
associate with.
no one here believes or goes to the Flat Earth Society information or their website.
Correct.
That's a completely government-run psyop.
Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting. So.
That's that's completely nonsense.
Well, what would I mean, if flat Earth got out, and became part of the accepted? I mean, what would it take for it to be accepted on a mass level? What would they do? I mean, it would obviously end all kinds of funding across the
Oh,
board.
absolutely. That's not going to happen. They are going to do everything not to have flat Earth get out.
That's why they're doing what they're doing.
But why would they invent the sphere in the first place?
Well,
Tim,
I'd like to answer that if y'all don't mind.
Go ahead.
So
You can
my
go.
so my recent video that I put out, presentation, alien invasion, pieces in plain sight, alien invasion. I basically talk about, since the radio, even before that, through literature, we've been exposed to this idea of this alien invasion, from War of the Worlds to music videos and movies and video games. All those things have kept putting the same reoccurring thing of either aliens, friend or foe, coming to us from another place.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think that that's directly tied to the Great Deception, and people falling
Absolutely.
for the lie. Because if you believe in the model that mainline science puts forward, then what you're seeing is aliens. If you are coming at more from an enclosed cosmology, we know that those aren't extraterrestrials. They're from this place.
The
Demonic.
When did science shifted from flat Earth and to globe in like
1969.
The 40s.
no, in like
technically.
1500 and something,
No, so one second.
No, they brought it into schools up to the 40s.
Yes, that's
What,
a complete. Yeah, that's a complete fabrication that the globe has been around forever. It's a brand new lie. They taught flat Earth in America in the 1900s, all the way up into the 50s.
What's that, Vader?
So this book this book right here, if you can see it, this is Natural Science.
Didn't the ancient Greeks come up with the theory that the Earth was round?
It's a narrative. It's a story.
So
there would be no Star Wars, there would be no Star Trek, there would be no Space Adventure, no Buck Rogers, all the shows we grew up with, if they didn't have the globe model. If there was a flat Earth, there's no way to travel outside of the realm.
So this book I have right here is Gateway to the Great Books, Natural Science. It's number 8 in a series, and this is from Britannica. Okay, Britannica. In this book, which was published, I'll bring it up, was published in let me put my finger on it, in 1963. Can you see it?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. In this book, let me pull it up. Give me just a minute.
It only took them a few years to do it. You know, they just had to put space in your face. Star Wars, Star Trek. Continue, Vader Bear.
In this book, it says arguments for and against Galileo, from the defense of Galileo, and it goes through here and in the beginning. It starts with, like for instance, right here. It says Galileo openly contradicts the sacred scripture. It is said in Psalms 92, "For he hath established the world which shall not be moved." And in Psalms 103, "Who fastened the earth upon its own bases. It shall not be moved forever and ever." And Solomon states in Ecclesiastes 1, "But the earth standeth forever." So it goes on, and what my main point of this is in 1963, this was included in a book. So the argument had not been settled. People were still interested in where we lived. And then 6 years from this book, all of a sudden people changed their mind because they saw this video production.
Can you see it? I don't know if it'll focus. Okay, right. There you go. Right here. This is 1949. That's Operation High Jump. That's where ABBA went. I'm familiar with that. What happened is he discovered more land down here. Have you heard his interview? On the TV, he admitted that there was more land beyond the South Pole. Well, how's that even possible on the globe? But he said there was a piece of land bigger than the United States, which no person had ever laid eyes on. It was full of natural resources. And so what happened? Next, you have NASA's formed. You have the Antarctic Treaty is formed to keep us away from there, and the Globe Ride is born. It all happened in the 40s and 50s.
Which I do find it weird that, nobody's allowed to go to the South Pole.
Of course.
Of course. We want to go.
Yeah, so basically how that UN treaty works is you can apply for permission to go to Antarctica. It's a $2 million buy-in where you basically have to pay for all this stuff, and that you have to pay that $200 fee. $2 million fee, and then they have to inspect all your equipment and all that stuff. Now, if let's say you get approved we're in the United States, they get approved by the United States. Then it goes to the UN, and any of the members of the UN treaty can then say no. And if one of them says no, then you don't get your $2 million back, and you can't go.
Is there reasoning that, it's a protected land by the world and doesn't belong to anybody, so nobody can
No, it's because it's a perimeter around the flat Earth. And
I understand that theory. Yes.
And what he's saying.
But, what is the reasoning behind their saying nobody is allowed to go there without, special permission from the World Council or something?
There's this. Go ahead.
Just to protect the penguins and the habitat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, China cares about protecting the penguins. Russia cares. They've never been conquesting, nations that have taken other land from others because they wanted it. But I shouldn't be sarcastic. But I do want to mention that there is the oldest literature other than scripture is the Epic of Gilgamesh, and in that it follows Gilgamesh through his journeys, and near the end of that epic, Gilgamesh goes to the ends of the earth, a very cold and frigid place, and he placed stones of knowledge there. Now, it's very interesting if you look it up when new popes come, new presidents come, new leaders come. They all like to go down there, including, Hitlerio went down there, Gandhi's gone down there.
Like Obama went down there, right, during his presidency.
Yeah. John Kerry was in Antarctica on election day, the day Trump was elected.
Correct, yep.
Huh.
on election day. He was
So-
Secretary of State at the time.
So I think there's information out there. Too. I think that there is a firmament, there is a solid barrier that you could touch. And then just one little factoid, you can look this up. Antarctica has the highest elevation landmass in the world.
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
it's the perimeter. It's the basin of our tub.
It's the shore of our lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would be going up.
It's the
If you're
rim
going
around
to
the
South
toilet
America.
bowl.
All right.
What was that?
What,
John?
I said it's the rim around the toilet bowl.
I want to ask a question that's always burned on my mind about this was, and it's just kind of back to the flat Earth stuff, and I don't want to start an argument, but
yeah, no arguments.
Start one.
Okay, so like astronomers can predict exactly where a solar eclipse is going to be, and at exactly the moment. I've seen them myself, and it happened exactly on time. So how are they privy to this information, but nobody else is? And what exactly is a solar eclipse then? And it's like, if they're wrong, how does it happen exactly where they say it's going to happen? You can travel to where a total eclipse is going to be, and they can predict it years in advance, and you will see it. And it's like either they have the keys to heaven, or they're operating on
they for a reason.
Or there's
to just to save time,
Hey,
So
hey, John, can you look at the clock on your wall and predict when the second hand is going to come back around?
right, but
Well, the answer is yes, right? The same
Right.
way we can predict solar eclipses because they happen in a cycle of 18 years. They repeat. They always have since the beginning. Solar eclipses repeat. They're on a cycle, and it's called the Saurus cycle. It's not based off of a globe model. It's this has been predicted for since time began. They predicted solar eclipses based off the flat Earth. In fact, there's an Antikythera mechanism
what exactly is passing in front of the moon is passing in front of the sun?
Dragon's lair. Actually, it's a whole
Well,
nother...
actually, you never do see the moon when it passes in front of the sun.
Yeah, the moon's never visible. You can't prove it's the moon eclipsing the sun.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because you can see the moon and the sun both in the sky, but on an eclipse you don't see the moon at all. All you see is the sun, and then all of a sudden something blocking the sun, and then it's gone. And then with a lunar eclipse, what's the Earth? It's the Earth getting in front of the sun. That perspective doesn't make sense in my opinion. And the reason why is I've said this before. If you look at the size of the shadow that the lunar eclipse lunar eclipse causes, it at most is 70 miles in in diameter. So how can an object that is bigger than bigger than that cast a smaller shadow? Like a surface cannot cast a smaller shadow than its surface. So no matter how you play with light, you cannot get that shadow to be smaller than the size of the surface that's casting the shadow. And
it always goes bigger.
And yet it's much the shadow's much smaller than it should be.
There's also the Selenilian eclipse, where both the sun and the moon are in the sky together. You can see the moon over here and the sun over here, and yet the moon is being eclipsed. So what's eclipsing the moon?
And the shadow goes opposite. It doesn't go down up, it goes up down.
Top down. It comes from the top and goes down. We think that the Earth is an electrical system, with the sun and moon being some sort of anode and cathode or whatever, and the moon is literally a powered device that just powers up and powers down on a continual cycle. And that's what we see. A full moon is a fully powered moon. Think about it. In the globe model, the moon is always in the sky. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, but it's always there. So why is there more pregnancies and more births on a full moon than on a new moon?
Well, what about
in your model's just sunlight bouncing back. That changes the birth rates? No, in our model, it's powered up. It becomes a living, powered being.
What are these things? If the sun is not the sun and the moon is not the moon, what are they? You said they're a cathode and an anode.
We're in like a giant toroidal field, and you have to really study like Tesla coils and an electrical system, to understand all this. But
But I mean, is it are you saying that the sky is mechanical?
Well, it's electrified.
Well, think about this, bro. Think about the fact that we can tell time by the stars in the sky. And we've seen the same stars in the same constellations for all recorded history. So we can use those as a fact. So the fact that there's this random explosion, i.e. the Big Bang, and all of a sudden it creates this perfect time watch. That's like putting a whole bunch, all the, pieces of a watch together in a box and shaking it up and thinking that eventually it's going to make a clock, a wristwatch.
Right.
I mean,
right here in the comments.
If God created this illusion that we're on a sphere, why would he?
That illusion.
He didn't make that illusion. It's plain
to not created
That's
by God.
There is no illusion. It looks flat to me. It feels stationary to me.
He didn't create it. Man did.
I like
That's an illusion that they've been trying to throw at us. But God created a flat, fixed Earth.
Yeah, I like to ask this question: if a person came up to you and punched you in the face, and then a moment later, a championship fighter comes up and says, I'm an expert fighter. I saw what happened. You didn't get punched. Would you believe your experience or would you believe the expert? Because in the same way, you feel no movement when you're still. But yet, if you believe the experts, you're spinning, up to 1,000 miles, 1,036 miles per hour. You're falling back at that speed your whole life.
Right.
In fact,
have fun flying also.
In fact,
Walter's showing the path of the Earth or the sun around the galaxy.
That's showing that, you got so in January we have the Big Dipper on my right side. And now 6 months later you have the Big Dipper off to an angle, but we should be seeing a different side of the universe from their model.
Right.
Well, throw a baseball up in the air. It should be 1,000 miles. And yet it's going to drop right down to you. Why is that? I mean...
And they've even done that, right? Where they shot...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If we're spinning, I should throw something up in the air and it should be... But...
Well, I understand that if it's a sphere, that the atmosphere is moving with the sphere.
So that means if a plane took off
because there's no reason for it not to.
Listen.
I mean, it's like because it's not like you got a sphere spinning and then just threw a stagnant atmosphere on top of it. Of course, the whole thing would be a system revolving.
So wouldn't the outer bands of the spinning atmosphere be going slower than the inner bands?
And if you had a sphere, right, and you took a plane off in the opposite direction of the spin, even if it was going 500 miles an hour, it would actually be going negative 500 miles an hour, and its destination would come up from behind it before it would ever come up in front of it, because it's having to fight that wind. It's having to fight that. If you're saying that the wind is with the atmosphere, if it's attached to the atmosphere, then a plane going the opposite way would have to fight through that.
I don't see that being the case, though. I mean, because for one, if the Earth was formed and into a spinning thing, then everything that was with it was spinning also. Spun
Do
into
you believe in
that.
gravity? Do you believe in gravity?
I don't believe that gravity is warp in time space.
Well, see, water. This is how I talk to my grandchildren. I sit there and tell them, okay, can you jump up and down in water? And yet that water goes right back down and held down. That those oceans are held down, and yet I can frolic in it. I should be squished to the bottom of it. I should be a whoosh with that kind of pressure.
I think gravity is a force because I can see it right here, but because I can see it happen.
What holds the ocean?
The question is, what is gravity? And I don't believe that it's when you have mass in space that it warps space, like all that bullshit. I mean, I think the universe is electric, and you're looking at the whole standard model is based on gravity. It's gravity based, but actually, electromagnetism is 100 billion times stronger than gravity, which, if you have a massive thing, and electromagnetism is the king of the universe, then of course things are going to be attracted to the mass. I mean, everything's electricity, from life to the largest structures in the universe and stuff. Everything, they keep finding more and more that it's electricity.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have life itself without electricity. You have the positive and negative attraction across barriers, and then the atom itself is based on electricity. You have the positive and the negatives. You have the proton and you have the electron, and there's different charges. So, I mean, there's absolutely everything is based on electricity. I think we could probably all agree to that. So when it comes to gravity, of course it's going to be electromagnetism. I mean, it just stands to reason. So I'm into the electric universe myself, and I think it was around. And coincidentally, around 2015, the Thunderbolts project, Walt Thornhill put out his synopsis on what gravity was, and it was earth-shattering. I mean, it was like they could not let that happen. If they did, all the books are wrong. Everything's wrong.
Everything is wrong.
Yep.
Hey, on the globe, you're supposed to be able to take a compass, and the needle points north, right?
Right.
Well, there's a couple problems. A compass couldn't work on a globe, because if you have a compass in your hand right here and you have it out of level, it won't work. You have to keep it perfectly level. So how is it, if I'm here on the side of the ball and the North Pole's up here, how is this wrapping around, finding the North Pole and coming back and show me where it's at? And how come if I go down here, it doesn't point to the South Pole?
Well, the compass is in a magnetic field.
No. That doesn't. No, you can't. How?
It doesn't work like that.
I mean, that's how a compass works. It's in a magnetic field.
Well, obviously there's something pulling the pin to the north.
Well, the magnetic field rotates it comes out of the North Pole, and it is on flat Earth model. And the sun and the moon rotate around the flat Earth, pulled by the electromagnetic field. It's like they're on a track, and they rotate opposite of each other, and they also rotate in, and then in the sun, in the winter sun, the summer solstice they rotate in, and in the winter solstice they rotate out further towards the Antarctic.
Yeah, the Arctic Circle.
The tropic.
The Arctic Circle. And it's called the
tropical
Tropic of Cancer, and it's been around for
Royal.
ages.
So
And all of our buildings and all of our technology, old world technology, is based on the flat Earth model. All their readings, all the sun clocks, the dials, all the old world clocks, it's all based on the flat Earth model. It's been around for the knowledge of it's been around for thousands of years. It's just in the last 40 or 50 years they've came up with this globe model to hide all of and the electromagnetic technology is through the roof because everything you're electromagnetic. Your heart runs on an electromagnetic pulse.
Right.
We are so connected to this realm, it is unbelievable.
Right.
How you can pick up somebody else's negative energy or their positive energy because we're all made of energy and light. And matter responds to the energy, the frequency of the realm coming of the pulse coming out of the North Pole.
Okay.
And it's even literally named pulsar, right? So
yeah, there you go.
Any other questions? I'm ready. Keep them coming.
I mean, well, I mean, I don't want to cross over into arguments,
no,
because that's not productive. So
let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of Aries failure?
No.
I haven't even heard of that.
Okay, I'm gonna show you this real quick. Give me a second.
Is this the constellation Aries or something?
No. This is a scientist, George Bedell Airy. He was a mathematician and an astrologer. And he was basically trying to prove the rotation of the Earth.
Okay.
But that's why it's called failure, because he failed at doing so. So I'm gonna actually share my screen real quick, and hopefully y'all can see this. So let's go like this. Oh, had that up there. Let's get rid of that. Oops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. Okay, and let me pop this bigger. And then I need to share my screen, so give me one more second.
Y'all don't mind if I drink a beer, do you?
No. You can't drink.
I don't get to smoke weed.
All right, here. Can y'all see? You should be able to. It should have popped up in like the camera area. So then just click on.
Is this watch the stream or something?
Yep.
Vader?
Yeah.
So did we click this? Or?
Yep.
Yeah. Touch it.
Okay. All right. I'm touching. Okay. Let's look at it.
Okay.
Well.
So let me pull this up I gotta make sure the stream can hear it too.
Can you see it, John?
Yeah, I'm gonna put on my readers here and okay, there we go. All right. Aries.
If a telescope is pointing at a star and both are stationary, then obviously the light comes straight into the telescope.
Oh, I've seen this.
In 1729, Bradley found that he had to tip his telescope forward very slightly to get
we're
going
to watch a little video. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was assumed that this was due to the motion of the Earth around the Sun. Let us assume that the telescope was moving at 5 miles an hour and had to be tipped 5 degrees. This 5-degree tipping, however, could equally be caused by the ether moving at 5 miles an hour, carrying the stars around the Earth. As we see here, the light would be coming in at the same angle, and the telescope would still have to be tipped 5 degrees. So tipping the telescope does not tell us whether it is the starlight moving or the telescope moving. However, there is a simple experiment that can determine whether it was the Earth that was moving or the ether and starlight. All that you had to do was record the tipping required for any particular star, then fill the telescope with water, which greatly slows down the speed of light in the telescope. So here is the moving.
Okay, so what are we getting out of this?
It's almost done.
And you can see that the starlight does not now reach the eyepiece at the bottom. This is because the starlight moves much more slowly when passing through water.
Okay.
However,
It's almost done.
if the telescope is tipped further, say 10 degrees, then the starlight will then be visible again in the eyepiece. It has to be tipped further because the light is now slower when in the telescope. But if the starlight is going past the telescope at 5 miles an hour, then when it is filled with water, no further tipping is needed because the light is coming in at 5 degrees anyway. The starlight stays on the same path but is only travelling slower in the water. To recap, if it is the telescope that is moving, then when it is filled with water, it has to be tipped further to see the star. If the telescope is stationary and the starlight drifting past us, then it does not have to be tipped further. In 1871, George Biddle Airy, the Astronomer Royal, performed this experiment. This is a copy from his original report. You can see that the two readings are virtually identical. If it had been the telescope that was moving, Airy expected a figure of 30 seconds of arc. In fact, he only managed to read 0.8 seconds of arc difference. Bradley first discovered stellar aberration.
So we don't have to watch the whole thing, but basically what he was trying to do is he was trying to figure out, okay, we're a ball, right? So it should work this way, but it didn't. And so he, used the logical deduction and was like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you don't have to move it unless the telescope is stationary.
But then a few years later, Michelson Morley did their experiment as well, where they use an interferometer with spinning lasers, and there was basically two opposing lasers, and one was against the rotation of the Earth, and one was along with it. So if the Earth is spinning, the laser that was going against the rotation of the Earth, it should have taken that light a little bit longer to travel and meet the mirror than the one going with the rotation. But there was perfect harmony in the two lights meeting the original, the home base, I guess. And it's the Michelson-Morley experiment, and that's why Einstein had to come out with the theory of relativity to explain away Michelson-Morley's experiment, because it proved that the Earth was stationary and that the ether was spinning over us. So that's Einstein was damage control for Michelson-Morley. He even says that himself. Einstein did.
Yeah, that's a really good quote, actually. He basically says, like, we just have to say this, or our whole thoughts are debunked.
Yeah, he says that there's no experiment, nothing that can ever be done on this earth to prove the rotation of the earth.
Yeah.
We just take it on faith, basically. That's Einstein.
And we all know that E equals MC squared stands for Einstein married his cousin twice. So.
Just like everything's a lie, Einstein's a lie. He was nothing but a script reading puppet. Look at any video of him. He's reading a script.
You know, it catches my attention that, you know, the flat earth and the electric universe seem to believe a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
Well, because that's what it is. That's the truth.
Except that they're basically, you know, believe there's a sphere and things like that. You know, it's just
there's a lot of people that are on the electric universe side that's flat earthers.
Yeah.
Because the way everything's laid out, North Pole, South Pole.
Yeah.
Sun, moon, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, you know, I'm intrigued by, you know, like how Valles Marineris on Mars happened, you know, and the mythology tells us from around the world that I suppose Venus approached the Earth, and Mars, the planets weren't always in stable orbits, and they can come out of those stable orbits, and then Mars was the god of war, went to war with Venus, and Venus had been a beautiful princess, but when she came to the Earth, then it was turned into a monster, and then Mars stepped in, and they did battle. And if you look at Valles Marineris on Mars, the giant Grand Canyon on Mars, the big scar across its face, there's no inflow or outflow for oceans that they said that they say that there was. There was everything on Mars can be explained by electric discharge and like huge.
How does that work out?
Bodies.
How does that work out in the globe model? I don't get that. So there's giant people.
Well, Venus was a comet, basically. And a comet is not an ice ball. It's a body.
Doesn't that sound like a fairy tale to you?
Not really. I mean,
$68 million one.
Yeah, really. What if the Earth was laid out like this, John? And we're in the center, and that's our realm in the center, and that white ring is the ice wall. That's Antarctica.
Hang on, let me look a little closer here. Okay.
I'll get as close as I can before.
All right, no, that's cool. I just had to click on it to get a look.
So imagine if you're in the outer land, or the inner lands, center Earth, middle Earth. That's what Richard Byrd said, middle Earth. And so these lands out here would have their own sun, and this land would have its own sun. Maybe that's what we see as Mars and Venus. Maybe there's suns in the farther lands.
Maybe y'all ever get out a telescope and look at these things? Because I recently looked at Jupiter when it was at its closest, what do you call it, the apogee or something? But you could see the moons, and I just had a spotter scope, you know, like a 100-power spotter scope, and I could see the moons around it. And
you can see our moon around our sun as well. So why wouldn't you expect to see moons around another sun? But that doesn't disprove the flat Earth.
No, I'm not trying to. I wouldn't try to disprove it because, you know, I mean, like I said, I'm not into dogmatism. You know, I know what I have learned, and you know, I try to be intuitive too. But at the same time, I think there's something to what y'all are into.
Well, it comes down to whether the Earth is a ball or it's flat, right? At the end of the day, like if it turns out it's flat, then everything they said is a lie.
I've actually thought that it might be neither. That it's
Pear-shaped.
Well, if it's literally
it could just be a simulation. The entire thing could be simulated, and then we're both wrong.
Well, if it's just a simulation, then no morality really matters, right? Like, because if I make a simulation of a flight simulator, and I run that plane into a building, right? Like that, nothing actually happens from that. I won't look on the news and see that there was an airplane that was flown into a building. So what my point is if you did that in this reality, how could you say that's bad if it's a simulation? So that's my issue with the simulation theory in itself. But even in the way we create simulations, they're still based in a flat model, right? Like they're not called air curves, they're called airplanes, and they're designed to fly and presume that they're flying over a stationary flat plane. So, to me, it's a preponderance of evidence, and I definitely don't, expect anyone to have one conversation and all of a sudden be like, you know what, I'm gonna completely disregard all my previous knowledge. So, we all went through that, and we all understand that. So I just want to state that the reason why we say the things the way we do is because we've looked at it so much, and we've actually, tried to understand those, and there's all these silly logical things that make no sense. What do cars push off of? Well, the tires push off the ground. What do boats push off? Well, the propellers push the water. Well, what do airplanes, push off of? They push off the air, right? They use their propellers to push the air. What do rocket ships, in space push off of? Nothing, because there is nothing to push off of.
No, they're not pushing off of it. They're throwing mass out the back, which is the when you throw mass one way, you're going to get an equal and opposite reaction the other one.
It doesn't work that way, John.
Yeah, if you take a vacuum chamber and you put in a fan in that vacuum chamber and you hang a little feather right in front of that fan and you take all that air out and you flip on that fan.
If you throw a ball or throw something heavy, your body will push backwards. Like if you have a big medicine ball and you throw it, your body is gonna fly backwards. You can do it right now. You can take something heavy and throw it,
but that's not what a rocket is doing.
There's an equal and opposite reaction. So
yeah, but the thing is, John, you can look this up or do it for yourself. You have to get a large vacuum chamber, because what Mythbusters did is they scammed people by using a small vacuum chamber, and they put a model rocket engine in it. So as soon as they ignited that engine, the exhaust from that model rocket filled the environment and became the atmosphere that rocket pushed off of. But for the first second or so, the rocket never even budged, not even a fraction of a millimeter, and it was blasting stuff out of the back, and it was standing dead still for the first half a second until that smoke filled the chamber. Then it had something to go on.
Well, if
this is science.
This is something you can do right now. If you stand as straight up as you can and take something heavy and throw it away from you,
but that's not a rocket.
You will lean back.
But that's not a comparable.
It's not because it's meeting error.
That's not a rocket engine, John.
What would happen if you were?
Same principle, though.
It's not even close.
If you took that same ball and you're up in zero gravity and you threw that ball, what would happen to you?
You would move backwards.
You would spin backwards, right?
No, one way or the other, you're going to, depending on where your center of balance is, you're going to move. There's going to be a reaction. So you're not going to be able to, if you're in space and you throw a medicine ball, you're going to move in some fashion in the opposite direction.
In space?
or even here on Earth.
That's a lot of faith there. We have done
Well,
rockets in vacuum chambers and they don't work. That's the thing.
If anything, you'll push
I mean,
off if the space was right.
if you throw a baseball, even if you're standing straight up, you will move back. So when you go to throw something, you lean forward slightly to counteract that.
You're talking about the physics and mechanics of a human throwing an object with mass on Earth. We're talking about
anywhere, really. If you threw it on the moon or
we're talking about a rocket throwing out an exhaust, which is intended to push against a surface.
Right. It's throwing out so many, it's producing energy. I mean, we know that energy is coming out the back of the rocket. So
it goes into the vacuum of space and is being eaten instantly. So there is no counter reaction because there's no the exhaust is instantly dispersed.
If you take a 460 Weatherby Magnum and you're floating in a vacuum and you fire it, you're going to move.
I don't think you will, though. I don't think you will.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think it would ignite? Because
you can do it on Earth too. If you fire a large, cannon, if you're hanging onto a cannon and it fires, you're going to move backwards.
Yeah, on Earth.
Because it's throwing mass out the front, and that energy.
We have an atmosphere here. We have air pressure.
But I mean, the cannon round is what 150. Let's say it's 155 millimeters. It's not pushing a whole lot of air out of the way.
You don't know that.
I mean, but you're going to catch the full force of that. You're going to move backwards.
That cannon is pushing so much air, you have no idea.
Yeah, the air could basically be
a mile away.
Yeah, the how fast it's moving the air is based upon the speed of the projectile, like the muzzle velocity, right? Like if it's coming out 1,200 feet per second, it's pushing air 1,200 feet per second.
But if you fire that cannon in space, you're going to move backwards, I guarantee you.
Well, could it go? Could it ignite?
Yeah, of course, because the gunpowder is oxidized. It has its own fuel.
I mean, igniting is not the issue.
But what is it? But what is it pushing off of?
It's pushing off of the gun. So the round is pushing off of the gun, which you're hanging on to. Mm-hmm. That's recoil. It's going to push backwards. Because for every force, there's an equal and opposite. That's just physics.
Reaction.
Except in a vacuum, there is no force coming out of the back of the rocket. So
it's the same thing. If you turn the butt of the rocket around and make it the barrel of a gun, you're going to get the recoil from that.
And we're kind of talking about this, but it's kind of a red herring. And the reason why I say that is because NASA says the reason why they have to go that 17,000 miles is because not only do they have to escape the quote unquote gravitational pull, but they have to get all of that force that they're going to need to get to the moon. And the reason why that is because here on Earth, right, they needed a whole rocket, right, to get there, but supposedly with the moon landing, they just needed the top half of the LIM lunar lander to be able to propel themselves all the way back to the Earth, because they don't claim that they used after their initial burn, they're not claiming that they're shooting fire out the back of the whole time. So what my point is even that doesn't make sense. Have you ever
accelerate to the point that they need to accelerate and then turn it off, and as soon as they turn it off, there's not going to be any loss of velocity.
Yeah, so
there's not going to be any gain or anything because it's already in motion. So objects that are in motion tend to stay in motion.
Yeah. But what my point about bringing that up is the fact that they claim that they're going 17,000 miles an hour. So I don't know, just maybe keep it in mind, look at airplanes flying away and then look at some footage of rockets flying away, and just imagine how fast 17,000 miles an hour is, and how quickly that thing would be out of your eyesight. Yet you can see it.
Ass. There's no doubt.
Yet you can see it for a really long time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
how many feet is in a mile?
5,800 something.
5280.
Yeah, there you go.
So they're going 3 miles, like every second. No, my math in my head is wrong, but I'm just saying the speed that they're going. How high are planes, right? And then think about how hard they're able to see if they're, let's say, at 30,000. It's going 17. So in the same time, 2 seconds, it's basically gone double the distance of what a plane height is. How can we still see this object? You know what I mean? It's like it's just. There's so many logical fallacies that just don't make sense to me. And
think about what 30,000 feet is. Like if, say, you're approaching an intersection and your GPS says in 1,000 feet, turn left. So that's 1,000 feet. Now times that times 30. That's not exactly too far. I mean, it's 30 times.
Just look up in the sky and look at a plane. They fly about 30 or 40,000 feet.
Right. So you can see that.
Barely.
I mean, you can see the plane at 30,000 feet because it's 30 times further than that intersection that your GPS is saying you're going to turn in 1,000 feet.
John, his point is that in order for a rocket to get to 17,000 miles an hour and escape Earth.
Well, 17,500 miles an hour is escape velocity.
Yeah, but the point is, we sit and watch them do this and go real slow, and then they arc, and then they come right back down.
Right.
Real nice and slow. He's saying they got to go like 3 miles a second to make that speed. That would be out of sight in just 2-3 seconds. They'd be gone. We'd never see it again. We can sit and watch it for 5 minutes because it's not really going that fast. It's all a show. Is why.
Yeah.
You mean a rocket blasting off into space?
There is no such thing as a rocket blasting off into space.
Well, everybody's watched the shuttle go up, or hundreds of thousands of people have watched rocket launches.
Yeah, thousands. Even more people have seen bottle rockets, right? So it's like just because we see something go up and arc doesn't mean that it's leaving the space. It is interesting. I saw someone bring it in chat. I love that point. Is where they shoot it is just so happened to be aimed at the Bermuda Triangle. Isn't that weird? We shouldn't go to the Bermuda Triangle. We should fear for quicksand. We should watch out for the alien invasion. It's just, in my opinion, it's the reason why they have that fear is to keep people away from that area. And so
it's a dumping ground.
Yeah,
bingo.
You can
all still on here. You have who's the UN guy?
BV. That's with the UN map.
Okay, and that's okay. And then
did you recognize that as the flat Earth map as well, John?
Yeah, because I've seen videos on it.
Isn't that interesting?
It makes me wonder about, for some reason, it brings the Perry Reese map into mind, where they, where he's supposedly, the Perry Reese map was, compiled from older maps, and it showed Antarctica. And then they found out later that when they did radar through the ice, that the map actually matched what was actually there beneath the ice. So at one point in history, there wasn't ice on that. but which is, has science baffled. How could he have known the actual coastline of Antarctica if nobody had ever seen it because it had been covered in ice for millions of years? But the map shows the actual coastline that they found when they did ground penetrating radar and found that the coastline matched the Perry Reese map. So I don't know why it made me think of that.
Another kind of interesting thing about that symbol, though, is there's 33 segments in that. So if you counted all the different little spots, including the center, there's exactly 33 individual things, which, take that for as you'd like.
Yep.
I think we're up against something. Is there any possibility, and I don't want to offend anybody, that the flat earth was pushed through the algorithm to pull people off of something that they were getting ready to discover? And if people had discovered that, being the people that think, and that, conspiracy theories are not conspiracy theories, but
you're really hung up on this PSYOP, aren't you? On this 20.
Well, I've worked around PSYOP, so I know them very well. And I know that.
What are you talking about?
Well, check this out, man. Check this out, Walter.
You should be more worried about why they're censoring it rather than why the information came out.
When Obama came in, I began to see the psyops that were happening, and I couldn't believe, because I'd worked with psyops before in the military. So what my big question was is why is the new government, this administration, using military-grade psyops against the public, which should be against the law to begin with? Because we're not talking about propaganda. We're talking about full-fledged psyops that you would use against an enemy, was being turned around and pointed at the American people.
Yeah, well,
and I was like, why are they doing that? Why would our government use our psyops against us? And from there on, now we know, because we look at all these kids now and they're completely brainwashed without a fucking clue. And it was like that psyop again. That psyop again.
Kids the globe.
Can I?
Yeah, those same people teach the kids the globe.
Can I pick?
I'm concerned that the possibility exists that with all these conspiracy theories, I don't even like to call them all this insight that was going on around that time, because if y'all remember right, your insight was very keen prior to the flat earth, and you were nailing things left and right, and it was getting out into the public. Now, wouldn't the CIA look to use something to divert that?
Oh, there's totally, within this community, there's 100% people who are subverters. 100%. No, not a single one of us is going to deny that. So that definitely exists. But here, I want to share another video real quick. Bear with me, okay? So just click on my name and it should pop up to you. This is Obama while he was president. I just want you to hear what he has to say here.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I am willing to work with anybody.
I can't hear
it. Can anyone else hear it?
Democrats, independents,
can you hear it, John?
Greens,
that's better.
Anybody to combat this threat on behalf of our kids. I'm open to all sorts of new ideas, maybe better ideas, to make sure that we deal with climate change in a way that promotes jobs and growth. Nobody has a monopoly on what is a very hard problem, but I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah.
So
Wasn't that a clue?
So to me,
so like he pushes all of these conspiracy theorists into a flat Earth thing, and like so they can be like, see, they're just crazies.
So what they did, the point is the Earth is flat.
Yeah, because even if, let's say, it was a psyop, that doesn't change the fact that I did an observation over Bear Lake and I saw, hundreds of miles below the hill. I saw, I was here and I was seeing over here. And
yeah, but a psyop in 2015, bro.
Did when y'all got into flat Earth, didn't that kind of end all your interest in all the other things?
No, it just made all of those things make even more sense. It was like a missing puzzle piece that we were all like that tied all the other garbage together.
It's like
seemed a little bit too. Doesn't that seem a little too easy?
No,
not really.
It was not. It was not easy to come to the acceptance.
There's nothing easy about it.
I had to overcome, years of indoctrination.
And then what happened to all your focus on all those other things that went away?
It's still there, but even more focused.
But you don't have a channel here on those things.
Oh yeah, dude, look at my stuff. I've talked about mass shootings. I've talked about all the crazy war. We've talked about the Georgia Guidestones when they were destroyed.
We talk about everything.
Yeah, we talk about everything because it's all interconnected.
Right. I'm saying how convenient, because right when you were getting ready to expose the fucking entire fucking shebang.
This is the shebang.
Yeah, but where does it go from here? It's a dead end road, right?
No.
For you, maybe. For us, no.
It's kind of
because you're trapped on a globe. You're a prisoner.
You're not going to walk into Congress and present flat Earth. You're going to walk in there and present all the evidence of their corruption.
That's not true.
Tell them what happened.
Dave Weiss just interviewed Candace Taylor. She ran for governor in Georgia, and she's running again. She's an avid flat earther, and she's taken flat Earth to the state level. So there are people who are in that matrix.
But she can't go in there and say you're corrupt because the flat Earth. You got to have fucking evidence of corruption. Because if you prove flat Earth in Congress, you've done nothing about the corruption.
Yeah, but you worry about a political matrix. You should work out this matrix in your mind where they have you a prisoner on a ball. It doesn't matter what Congress or the rest of the world believes.
What are they supposed to do with that?
It doesn't matter. What are you going to do with it is what matters.
You've got to come with...
It's your life. It's
this
not
person
life,
stole this much money from our treasury.
This is your Earth you're living on. Don't you want to know the truth?
I do, but at the same time, it's like I feel like there's the possibility that this was a CIA operation.
So what if it was? The Earth is flat. That's the point.
Right, but you can't go into Congress and prosecute somebody for that unless you've got names and shit.
I don't want to. I just want to enjoy this beautiful flat realm we live on and know.
Well, of course,
Matrix.
Yeah. That's what they want. That's exactly what they want. They want you out of the scene.
Yep.
They don't want you coming in. They don't want you to walk into Congress with names and dates and how much money they stole and who they killed in the process.
Well, then you should do that if that's your passion.
That's what I do.
Well, but this is the thing. Even if you could get that stuff, we know that the powers that be, don't easily shift. They can't shift. It's like as soon as it shifts, then they have no one. They're the most useless people on this earth. They depend on everyone to protect them and to get them food, and they've created their own hell. But what the point is even if it was a CIA op, even if it was a CIA op, which I would say that the moon landing was a CIA op, but even if it was a CIA op, it doesn't change the fact that the earth is provenly does not curve at the rate that they say it is. So even if it was a globe, that globe is so big that they're, again, lying about it, and the amount of force that it would take to get a rocket off of that bigger globe would be way more than they show. So there's even another reason why we haven't gone to space. So there's
but what's more important, like all that, or like the fact that, you know, let me tell you a little story. Like, you know, when I was in the military, for the first part of it, our arch enemy was Russia, and we were taught to hate Russia for everything and stuff. And then I began watching Russia after, you know, things started, communication started coming out and stuff, and it was like, well, they were trying to mimic the United States and become a new United States. They even changed their flag to red, white, and blue. They used an American ideal, a philosophy from the 1800s called pragmatism that we invented. And Putin turned his country around, cut homelessness in half, improved their GDP, their nominal GDP increased 700%. They came to the table, they ate their crow, we beat them and dissolved their nation, or their United States, so to say, which was the Soviet Union. And then they came to the table and they were trying with what they had to become a new world humanitarian power. They modeled themselves after the United States, but we weren't going to let that happen, because all of a sudden they're competing in they were using capitalism to compete with us. And all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, we got a competitor, you know. They were supposed to just die, but they didn't, and they used an American value to become a world player again. And it's like, these corporations and shit, you know, they don't want to play fair, you know. It was like they were supposed to just die off, and they became almost a new United States, and we're heading for that thing. And all of a sudden the Europe has a brand new United States on their doorstep getting ready to happen. And this isn't going to be something that they can stand. You know, they're going to dump as much money into getting rid of that as possible. And I think that's where we're at. And then Trump came in, and he's making peace with North Korea, Russia, and China, but we are leading the way. They had to get rid of him. You know, it was like, the one thing that the European Union, which is actually probably the Nazi party, is fears most is that a new United States will appear on their doorstep. They had to do anything they could to stop this. Anything.
The thing is, the Earth has been flat since the beginning.
But we're talking about millions of people's lives that is happening in real time.
I'm trying to find a video of I can't remember, chat if you'd help me, the secretary for Warner Van Braun. There's a clip I want to show you.
Well, yeah, they're Nazis. Look, the Nazis the World War II never ended. Only 1,000 or so Nazis were prosecuted by Israel, by the Mossad, and were hung publicly. the rest, 10,000 fucking Nazis fled to Brazil.
Hey,
this is a fact. They fled down there and made German towns.
Just a reminder.
And
language, please.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So they fled. The Nazi Party fled to South America, and from South America arose Agenda 21, and in the United States that became sustainability. It's part of Agenda 21. This was being exposed. Germany became the leader of the European Union. They're undisputed the leader of the financial leader of the European Union. The Nazi Party never went away. Now they're back. It's the Fourth Reich. All this shit that we're going through right now is from them. This whole Green Deal and everything is a way of compressing people. It's the Nazi agenda to compress people into a place and talk them into things like suicide and things like that. Mass genocide. We've got the jab, COVID, all this shit. Now you've got China over there is obviously they didn't take a side in World War II.
Hey,
all right,
John.
They were now they've become an ally, and it's like we are on the verge of being obliterated by the fucking Nazi Party because China will step down and be second place for the Nazi Party.
Hey,
now,
John.
and you say that it can't possibly be because
John.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? Did you see the video Operation Paperclip?
Yeah, I know about Paperclip, where the scientists from Germany went into our space program.
Well,
Werner von Braun.
That is the whole Fourth Reich. It is the everything behind it. Did you ever have you seen the Bell Project? Hold on. Have you seen the Bell Project?
The what? Oh Bell? The Germans Bell.
Yeah, well, that spacecraft has a Mercury mechanism in it that hovers off of electromagnetic technology. The only way that thing can get off the ground is if this realm is flat. Because the magnetic forces in the realm with Mercury and that mechanism will cause that to hover and fly. There's actual video of Admiral Byrd being attacked from spaceships or flying crafts that came out of the water and hovered over, and he had to retreat. Now, this alien invasion that Vader has been talking about, this psyop that they're going to run, I believe is going to fly off of that electromagnetic technology, which is the way that the magnetic rotation flows out of the North Pole, and they're going to use these crafts to simulate an alien invasion. Possible.
I could see that.
And the only way they can do it is if this realm is flat.
Well, I can back you up somewhat because I had an uncle that worked at the Pentagon. He's met Hillary Clinton. He worked for the State Department and things like that. And I shared with him my experience in the desert, with a craft, and how it almost changed time. That's a long story, but
there's so many sightings of those and he said all over this realm.
Right, and he said straight up, "That's ours." And I'm like, "All right, you're gonna have to tell me more." And he's like, "I'm not gonna tell you anymore." He's just like, this guy is a lieutenant general, I mean, like
he knows a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's worked in it, and I told him he was full of shit because I saw the craft, and I know that we can't do that, because it violated the laws of physics and stuff. And he said, listen to me, that is ours. But he also told me Hillary's going to be president before she even threw her head in the ring. And I was like, how do you know? And he's like, trust me, we already know she is.
That's exactly why they do it, is because if we pull the cards out and the house of cards comes tumbling down, they're again the most useless people. They just use everyone else for their own, existence.
Yeah.
So of course,
this corruption has gone on for so long. It's like unreal. It's like I was a big fan of Bush going into Iraq, and now I'm like, why was I ever like that? And it was like
that's the indoctrination. But hey, look, I want to share this video real quick. So if you hit my share screen, and then I'll play it for y'all. This is Warner Van Braun's press secretary later in his life. So I'll let her.
Yeah, this is a good video. This is a good video. Watch this.
The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over, during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late.
So yeah, that's her talking about, sorry chat, I totally thought I was sharing that, but I wasn't. But basically what she says there is all of it's fake, right? And we just saw that asteroid thing happen just a month or so ago, where the quote-unquote DART was used to practice the deflection of an asteroid. So everything that we, and you talked about the Russians in the beginning, right? And isn't that exactly exactly what she said is kind of the same line that we've been dealing with? So, this even if, again, it was the CIA, the radius has still been debunked. But even more so, there's so much propaganda out there that pushes, is required, that propaganda is intrinsically tied to the globe model. So
I'm just saying, I mean, this is even if the flat earth is real, I mean,
$93 million a day. Sorry, $63 million a day. They get paid $63 million a day. Like, isn't
but that's nothing to what goes out from our coffers. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars.
No, I know, but I'm saying, yeah, and those people lie. So don't you think people would be lying for $63 million a day? So I don't know.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying there might be a bigger thing going on than trying to prove something that is almost unprovable.
No, we've already proved
Congress. I mean,
we've already proved the Earth is flat. It's scientifically flat.
okay. But what if you go into Congress and they say, okay, the Earth is flat?
Who
Now
cares
what?
about
Who cares
Congress?
That
about
doesn't
Congress?
change anything because they're still making money.
Don't you
It
think
doesn't
that the
matter.
Congress and the president, you think all of that, like, see, my thought is all of these nations that signed the Antarctic Treaty, they're all in on it. They each have, all these different major companies that also signed that treaty also have their own form of quote unquote space, space exploration. And go look at their photos. Go look at their stuff. Their stuff is way less funded than ours.
What if they just came out and admitted it all?
They wouldn't, because people would hang.
What?
Then a lot of people would hang and die, the people that let it come out.
I mean, that's not prosecutable, to the point of killing somebody. It's like you lied to us about the shape of the earth.
No. They stole billions and trillions of dollars from the American taxpayers and said that they were doing something they were not. That is
but at this point,
NASA's $1 billion a day, bro. NASA's $1 billion a day, and if they find out that there's no space program, they stole $1 billion. They stole $1 billion from the taxpayers a day.
And we just looked at Ukraine get all this $63 billion. That was
Ukraine is the most corrupt place
Bitcoin
on the planet, in the realm.
Blown back in. It's like they're getting rich on.
We can take back planet, by the way. Planet is just a piece of the plane, a planet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What I'm talking about is heading toward. We've got to have world peace. We've got to. I think the human race is ready for world peace.
You'll never have world peace as long as you're spinning out of control on a globe where a meteor or an asteroid could take you out, or the sun could flare and take you out. None of that stuff is actually a reality. Nuclear bombs, all that nonsense. It's all fear-based porn to keep you asleep.
The sun flare up and kill us all?
Anything. The sun has never flared up and killed us all. Meteors never came down and killed us all. We're here alive every day. The sun rises and sets just like it normally does. And this is a beautiful created realm we live on. This place is special, and you're in the center of it. And we're all divine beings. We have the spark of God within inside of us. And that's what they want to hide. They want to tell you you just are a random chance mutation. You came from a piece of gum that walked out of the primordial soup. You're nothing, bro. You're just a little dot here in the big old universe, and you mean nothing. And, but while you're at it, give us everything you got, including your soul. That's what they want from you. But the flat earth tells you that we're divine creatures, that we are special. We're in this magical realm. And that's the only way you can describe it, is pure magic.
Could we have that peace on a round earth?
What's that?
Could we become peaceful creatures on a sphere?
Well, there's a big conglomerate that doesn't want peace because they profit on war and death and pestilence. Right.
We can all agree on that.
Big Pharma won't ever actually bring if they bring health to people, man, dude, that's one step close to peace, right? Because if people don't have to have these expensive medications that hurt them, right? Just every aspect of it that is existing right now in our existence is literally set up to push people down. That includes the mindset that Walter was kind of just saying, where what are we? We're a meat sack amoeba on a speck of dust in an endless void. And if there is a God, then because this universe is ever expanding, that God is forever getting further and further away from us. And even though he's getting further away from us, he's already at a point where we could never get to anyways. It literally makes it's such a nihilistic view of our thing that we're just here and we die and we become dirt. That whole mindset, right, was really created by Charles Darwin. And you were talking earlier about, genocide. Well, let's look into eugenics and his, half cousin Francis Galton, who came up with the eugenics. So all of these things are intrinsically tied. You couldn't have evolution in a terrarium, right? It doesn't work. You don't put random things in a terrarium and seal it up, and all of a sudden you get new life in there that was not put in there by the creator. So all the things that they explain to us, and the fact that they're so contradictory, right? They believe that we live on a spinning ball, and in evolution and the survival of the fittest, but the same people also want to save all the endangered animals. Isn't it survival of the fittest? All of their beliefs are in this contradictory way. And again, I'm going to bring this up. William J. Casey, the CIA director in the 80s, said, "We will know our disinformation campaign is complete when everything the American believes in is a lie." If you have pride over something that is a lie, as in, ooh, look at us, we went to the moon, America went to the moon, we literally are having false pride. So, that isn't an achievement if the achievement was just that they tricked a whole bunch of people into believing something that wasn't true.
Why would they pull Werner von Braun over if it was all a lie?
Well, I think he changed later in life. I think that he went along to get along for most of his life. But when he started coming to the end of it and, was met with that, the gravitas of dying.
It was a paperclip was a secret, right?
Until I think it was like the 60s.
So it wasn't a propaganda thing that we got the Nazi rocket scientist and brought him over here.
Yeah,
it was a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Werner von Braun and Walt Disney and Stanley Kubrick were all.
But why was he special? Why was he special if he was just based on a lie anyway? He wasn't.
Well, because he created the V2 rockets, right? Like he created rockets. None of us are saying rockets aren't real. We're just saying rockets don't go into space.
But he supposedly
created the lie too, didn't he? He created the whole globe lie.
Who? Werner von Braun?
So that's why they wanted him, because he had the whole globe thing.
He wrote that book Operation Mars, where spacecraft, if you see the cover of it, a spacecraft, I might have it here on my phone. Werner von Braun wrote a book called Operation Mars, where a guy named Elon goes to Mars.
Really?
And this was in the 40s, I believe.
That's weird. You know what's weird about that is like Trump's great uncle had access to all of Tesla's material.
Mm-hmm. I believe that was about
So I would see a scenario where Tesla was into supposedly knowing the future and things through his experiments. And then Trump's great uncle has all of this material that he's going to approve for release or to cover up. And I suppose that it's in a place like a mansion or something, because where else would you have it at, where he's going to sift through all these thousands of boxes or files and shit. And I see like Trump possibly going to his great uncle's house as a college student and a frat, and like, what is this? Starts reading into it and learns the future and decides to become the president of the United States to stop the future,
Hey, John, look at that. This is the cover of Project Mars. That's the book by Werner von Braun.
Uh-huh.
And this is Elon Musk's rocket that he's going to take to Mars.
Right, that's going to land like a rocket.
Yeah, and the guy in this book, the astronaut's name is Elon.
I mean, you got to admit, when you saw the Falcons the heavy Falcons two of them land, that's pretty fucking amazing. Yeah.
I thought
CGI.
it looked like nothing but CGI to me.
Straight up
But
CGI.
I mean, people saw that in person.
No,
did they really?
it was miles and miles off the shore on a barge, and no one could go out there. Just look into how they
Some of them landed on the island, right?
Yeah,
Landed
some of them landed in Florida, but way away from people. That's CGI, pure CGI.
I agree, but
you think all of that is CGI?
Hey, look, they used CGI to bring down the two twin towers. So you're telling me they can't use CGI to blast a rocket? Oh.
I
mean, the
planes on live TV go into the World Trade Centers. And
John, I'll get with you and show you some videos and information proving that's all CGI. We've got it proven. I mean, it's just a fact.
But I mean, we can see a 747 fly across the sky, and that's a pretty amazing thing. I mean,
air travel is possible. That's not the question. Yeah, but it's going to another planet or leaving this realm. That's the thing that's not plausible.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't mean to interrupt, but we're at our 2 hours. This has been really fun, but we're already over the time. So let's go ahead.
It was a great fucking discussion. It was a great discussion, not an effing discussion.
Appreciate it.
I enjoyed this 100%, and I hope I get to come back on sometime.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And before we go, I got a little housekeeping to do real quick. I'm gonna pull this up for chat, so that they can see it as well. Bear with me just a moment while I do so, chat. And
Walter, I like your house, man. That is cool, dude. I can't wait to come up and see you.
Come on anytime, brother. You know it.
So, as always, I want to shout out Chris and Liz on Take on the World TV. They are so awesome. They give us, the ability to come onto their platform and to share our puzzle pieces with their family. And we appreciate them so much. Of course, they just had their Take on the World 2022 virtual conference. There are so many creators on here that just filled so many biscuits with gravy, and I definitely I definitely recommend that y'all check it out if you haven't. It's awesome. Subscribe to them if you haven't. And then, of course, we have Circle of the Earth Fellowship, our YouTube. We're steadily climbing. We're at 736. So again, thank you to all the new subscribers and those continuing to support the channel. Now, I want to mention one thing. I did get the merch set up. And of course, I'll continue to add to those, adding new shirts and hoodies and what other things people like. Now, I'm never gonna have members on this. I'm never gonna have a paid view. So my best way to, if y'all want to support me, is to buy some merch. Buy a T-shirt, a funny T-shirt, and I get a little bit from that, and y'all get a T-shirt to plant some seeds. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, that's the only way I'm really going to do it is through the T-shirt. So it's a win-win. I'm getting a little bit of money. Y'all are getting a high quality funny T-shirt. So if you're interested in that, check it out. It's this one right here. It's https streamlabs.com SE fellowship /merch. So check that out if you're interested. And then of course we do have our Discord. So if you're interested in being a part of the roundtables or just joining the community to share memes or other content creators, it's a great place to do that. I highly recommend it. And I'd love to see y'all there. But other than that, before we close this out, let's go ahead and say goodbye to everyone here. I'm going to start from the top of the screen as y'all see it, and then go down. So let's go to Walter. Walter, if you'd like to say goodbye to everyone.
Appreciate y'all having me here, and I look forward to getting back with John here pretty soon and just moving forward. No big deal. There's no, like I told John on the text the other night, this ain't a religion, this ain't a cult. there's no hurry here. Take your time, work through the information, and enjoy life.
Right on. And I'd like to say, there's no point in dogmatism. Everybody should always keep an open mind. And I've not made any kind of resolution on flat Earth or otherwise, but I find the company very stimulating, and hope to stay in contact with you guys and just keep on looking for the truth.
Amen.
We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll let Frankie say his goodbyes, and then I'll close us out. So, Frankie, if you'd like to, sir.
Yeah, it was a really good discussion. We haven't done this in a while. Brought back a lot of good memories of shows that we've watched and debates we've had and discussions we've had on Flat Earth. So it was really good. John, a really nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, man.
Just keep digging. You'll find what the truth.
And I'd like to say that everybody keep digging.
Well, I'm leading up to that. But the truth is, it always makes sense.
Absolutely.
You have to overthink a lie. But the truth, when it comes to you, it just makes sense. All
Absolutely.
The puzzles fit, everything fits together, and then it opens up and expands in the other areas where you get more confirmation. So just keep digging, and if you put the YouTube channel on after we get done, my band's called Born Out of Time, and the song is called Dig Deep. My drummer Nick sings it. We both wrote it together, and it's a really good song. It's called Dig Deep, and it's about digging into the truth and finding.
Is this somewhere we can all find?
Yeah. So John, once we I say my buys and I switch it over, you can actually go back to the YouTube and unmute it because we'll be gone from here, and then you can watch the music video I made for their song. It's our outro animation thing. So yeah,
nice.
Really good song.
Yeah.
And, so Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and keep on searching, keep on digging.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, indeed. Awesome, John. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, brother, coming on here. We were kind of poking fun about it, but there was a lot of people that disagree with you. So it is very courageous of you to still step into that and be as kind and humble as you were, in the discussion. So I really appreciate that. Of course, I'd love to have you back on. So we'll figure out a time that works in the future and get that set up. A lot of people would in chat would like to ask you some questions too. So maybe next time we'll field some answers from the chat and see if they add some to the mix. So anyways, guys, thank y'all so much for joining us for this CONglobe. It was really fun, and thank you for all that joined and was speaking in chat. Remember, subscriptions, likes, and shares all really help the channel. So comments as well. So any support like that, awesome. If you'd like to buy some funny merch, check out the link in the description. And as always, remember that ABBA loved you first. So good night, everyone.
Good night.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Later, I'm going to go eat some frankenberries with some strawberry milk.
Nice.
It's your glory. Conceal the mystery. You give us the honor to search a matter. You raise up a standard to beat back our enemy. fill up your cup. I give you enough to fill up your lamps. Yeah, yeah, you keep them trimmed, you keep them neat, you keep on worshiping and praising till you're at his feet. Oh, King Yeshua. Yeah, 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 David. Yeah, dig deep, search it out.